Welcome back to Living Local. It is time to check in with Movie Mike for what's new in theaters. Mike Schulz, arts editor for the River Cities Reader, joins us now for a review of some of the new movies already in theaters and preview of the ones opening this coming weekend.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yes, Mike, thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
Let's start with the reviews. First of all, Ford v. Ferrari from last weekend.
This was a mess of fun. This was really, really quite good. This is set in the mid-1960s, and it, of course, deals with the legendary rivalry between the Henry Ford Company and the Ferrari Company when Ferrari was winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans year after year after year. And Mr. Ford was like, enough of this. The Americans can do well, too. And so he decided to build a race car that would be able to compete at Le Mans. And so this basically deals with the engineer and creator of the car, played by Matt Damon, and his number one driver, a hotshot played by Christian Bale, as they attempt to make the world's fastest car. It is a lot of fun. It has two fantastic performances in there. Matt Damon, who has not been this good in quite some time.
Really?
Christian Bale, who's good pretty much all the time, but is just is terrific in this. It's not the most surprising movie in the world. It kind of follows a very traditional arc. It's like a speedway itself. It just kind of keeps, once you've been through it once, you get where it's going to go for the rest of the time. But it's really well made. It's the editing is fantastic in the racetrack sequences. It's got a superb supporting cast. You've got John Bernthal in there, Tracy Letts, who's an amazing character actor who plays Henry Ford, Katriana Balfe from Outlander, I believe, plays Christian Bale's wife. Lots of good people. It made a lot of money last week. It deserved to make a lot of money. It's not a sequel and it's not a comic book movie, and it still made a bunch of cash. I'm pretty thrilled.
Some real originalities.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'd check it out for sure. Yeah,
perfect. It's fun. Next up, The Good Liar.
Oh, not so good.
The one with Ian McKellen and Helen Mirren.
You wouldn't think
I saw a lot of previews for this one.
There were a lot of previews for it, and it looked actually really promising. You've got Ian McKellen as this career criminal who is trying to bilk Helen Mirren out of all of her money. They kind of meet on an online dating app, and she's worth $3 million that he wants to take away. But it turns out Ms. Mirren herself has some secrets that he doesn't know about, and so it becomes a bit of a cat and mouse game. The movie would have been more fun if we had been surprised by the fact that Helen Mirren is not just this lovable old widow that she is.
Devious.
But yeah, the very first scene though shows them kind of at their respective homes on the online site, and he's saying, "No, I'm not a smoker," while he has a cigarette, and she's saying, "No, I don't drink," while she's having a glass of wine. So right off the bat, they kind of blow it for you. It's kind of long. You just wait and wait for him to finally figure out what we've figured out for 90 minutes. So it's got some good performances. It's reasonably diverting. If it's on cable at 2 in the morning and you can't sleep, it's fine. But no need to make a trip to the Cineplex necessarily to see it. So yeah, what you gonna do? Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of rough stuff, next up is the latest incarnation of Charlie's Angels.
I don't know what we did to deserve this, and I don't mean that in a good way at all. Why? Was anyone asking for this? No. The answer is no, because nobody went over the weekend, and they shouldn't have, because it's not good. It is yet another reboot of the famous TV series from the late 70s to the early 80s that was, of course, made into a movie in 2000 with a great cast of Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu. This time around, we get Kristen Stewart. We get Naomi Scott, who's basically only known from playing Jasmine in Aladdin this summer. We have Ella Balinska, a British actress who no one's ever heard of before. And Kristen Stewart, I mean, is solid at her job, but never looks like she's having that much fun. And the whole movie is kind of like that. It's like we're going through the motions. It's this dopey plot about this kind of app that's going to provide sustainability for the world, but it turns into a weaponized thing that can kill people. It makes no sense. The action scenes are incoherent. It's not funny. The women don't look like they're having much fun playing opposite one another. It's there for the title. I mean that's what they were hoping. Let's make some bucks off a recognizable title, and the imagination pretty much stopped there. It was a drag. It was really. But I was one of 10 people to see it. Nobody else will. So I guess the harm was minimal. So there's that.
So go see Ford v. Ferrari.
Yes,
that one
please.
was good.
That's the good one.
All right, next up, all the movies we actually have coming up this upcoming weekend. First is the Mr. Rogers movie. It's finally here. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, yeah. Bring tissues already, right? This is the Mr. Rogers story, friends. This is actually about an author for Esquire who has been assigned to write an interview with Fred Rogers, who, of course, course, had Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as his beloved children's series for 14 years, from the late 60s to the early 80s. And yes, and so this is about him having to interview this legendary figure. He thinks it's going to be a puff piece. He thinks there's nothing interesting to learn from this man. But our author has some very severe problems with getting along with his father and with his own family, and so meeting Mr. Rogers is kind of the greatest thing that could ever happen in this. Just what he needed, exactly. You've got Matthew Rhys from The Americans playing the author, and of course you have to play the most beloved figure in television history, maybe the most beloved figure in movie history, Mr. Tom Hanks playing Fred Rogers. I can't wait to see that, even though last year we just got a really wonderful documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, which is phenomenal. So this is kind of a companion piece to that. I'm not sure if we'll learn anything new necessarily, but I'm looking forward to it just to watch Tom Hanks actually play this, you know? And of course, just to get a good 2-hour cry out of this thing, I'm sure is going to happen.
Exactly.
You know, yeah, just kill us now.
And it's not just a biopic, most importantly, because when I thought that originally, and I was like, I already saw the really amazing documentary. I don't even really know if I want to spoil, you know, that amazingness.
Exactly right, but so a different take on it.
There's still a good reason. All right, next up, 21 Bridges. We're going into the crime thriller type.
Indeed, a lot of variety this weekend. This is a crime thriller set in Manhattan, starring Chadwick Boseman, who of course we know playing Black Panther, and he plays a homicide detective in Manhattan. There is a cocaine bust that goes wrong to the effect of 8 police officers being shot down, and so Chadwick Boseman's character says what we have to do is shut down Manhattan to find these guys, so we close all 21 bridges in Manhattan while we search for them, and of course there will be at some point a conspiracy involving the police, because it's the NYPD. Why not? That's what we got to do. But it's got a great cast. Chadwick Boseman, of course, beyond Black Panther, has been great playing Jim Brown. There we go.
Yes.
James Brown. There we are. Thurgood Marshall and Jackie Robinson. I mean, he's amazing. And you've got J.K. Simmons, who we love from Whiplash, of course, and Sienna Miller, and Taylor Kitsch is in there, and Stephen James. Really good cast. And it looks. You know, could be punchy. It could be a good throwaway 2 hours. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be anything Oscar caliber-y, but it's all right.
Solid action movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Potential there. Last but not least, in animated news, the much-anticipated Frozen 2 is here.
To the delight of 10-year-old girls everywhere. Yes, if you can believe it, it's been 6 years since Frozen. It feels like yesterday, just because that song doesn't go away. I think that's why.
Played.
So yes, indeed, this is the continuing adventures of Ella with her magical ice-making powers, and her sister Anna, and their lovable snowman pal Olaf, and of course the hunky Prince Kristoff, and his delightful reindeer companion Sven. It is an adventure taking place outside the kingdom, where Ella starts hearing voices from the woods that she wants to investigate, and it leads to kind of finding out the origin of her magical powers. But it's so basically it's going to be more of what you loved before. It has the same songwriting team who won Oscars for Frozen, and it's got all the same voice actors returning: Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell and Josh Gad and Jonathan Groff, and it's going to make a mint. It's going to make a whole lot of money.
Just a few million.
Yeah, just a few.
My 4-year-old niece is very much excited about this.
Yeah, she'll have a ball, I'm sure. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Mike, thank you so much for coming in today.
Absolutely.
In review, new movies coming out this week are A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, 21 Bridges, Frozen 2. You can always read Mike's movie reviews inside the latest River Cities Reader on stands everywhere and online at rcreader.com. And for more information on today's movies, you can head over to our website, ourquadcities.com.